What's going on, everyone? Justin again. As always, thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back. Cheers to those of you that have your beers. I hope you're enjoying your work week so far. A couple of topics to talk about today. One of which is this is a question that got brought up in a council meeting, I think, with Ed, the old tech guy, Dale, and Jehu. But it was, and I think even Power Stroke Tube was there. Maybe even Joey as well. Kyle might have even been there. We were talking about, or at least they were talking about, can YouTubers give an honest review on a product that they received for free, okay, that they didn't have to pay for? That's really kind of a broad and tough question. Really depends on who it is that you're watching and the style in which they do their video. I think a lot of you can tell some of the guys that do actually use a specific product and if it actually is holding up to whatever hype is being driven behind it at the time. Initial impressions are going to be way different than, time-tested tool reviews, okay? That's a given. Everybody knows that, okay? In the beginning, everything is building up hype. You're going to have really good impressions with the product when you first get it because you're excited about it naturally. Whether you bought it or you got it for free doesn't matter. I think there's always a lot of excitement behind it until you actually put it to the test or start using it on a daily basis, okay? Not talking about those kind of tools that from a DIY standpoint you use once or twice on the weekend and maybe you don't touch it again for a few months. Talking about those kind of tools that maybe you've had, if you're a DIYer, for over a year or over 5 years, that you're like, hey, I've had this for over 5 years. The batteries, typically for somebody that utilizes this tool on a daily basis, anywhere between a couple dozen to 100 times a day, can tell you that these batteries would typically expire or run out of cycles of life by the year's end and they have to buy new batteries. Whereas with a DIY, Rigid, the kit that I had before I went back to DeWalt is a prime example. I had that kit for almost 5 years with the same batteries that came with them. 5 years of running on lithium batteries that I didn't completely exhaust the cells on. I never ran them all the way dead unless I was using them. And then I would charge them back up, and usually somewhere between 3/4 of a charge to almost full is pretty much how they would sit, and then they'd be almost dead by the time I went to recharge them, but they did last about that long, and they were still going when I sold them. So for me, that was a time-tested DIY review of the product. They worked out really well for what it was that I was doing here at the house, and they lasted a long time, and so did the batteries. With something like the DeWalt Mini Atomics, where I've utilized the 2 amp hour batteries almost on the daily for the last, 3 or 4 months now, those things have been fantastic. In fact, I got to remember to take them back to work because I was using them here leading up to the weekend to do some product reviews for you guys, which we're going to get into here as part of this discussion. Okay, so for the DeWalt stuff that I've had, I've been slowly but surely collecting up a nice little assortment, I would say, for probably the last year and a half, somewhere in there. I thought maybe a longer. There are a few hand tools that I've probably had for 3 or 4 years that I got, and then some other things that I've probably picked up, most recently, like the fan, the vacuum, the 3-speed variable drill, and the saws. I think those were the newest ones that I picked up. Oh, and the angle grinder. Okay, so those were all new tools that I picked up within the last couple of weeks. I picked these tools up shortly after Flex did their product launch, or their premiere launch, and I was like, man, I know it's a new company. I know there's a lot of hype behind it. You know who else had a lot of hype behind their product that I did run out for well over a year or year and a half before I switched over to the DeWalt 1/2-inch impact? Milwaukee, right? And I had a lot of issues with Milwaukee towards the year's end. Not just with the 1/2-inch fuel, but also with the battery connectivity, which we talked about numerous times. It's so bad, in fact, that there's actually a strap available that you can buy from JD Co. And surprisingly, he sells quite a bit of those things. And isn't it sad that you have to buy an adjustable zip tie in order to keep the battery attached to the tool long enough for you to actually burn the battery down to its last cell and recharge it? It's pretty sad, right? So for a time-tested tool, those did not work out well for me. So I gave them away to people that I thought could use them, whether it was DIY or for their off-road projects, okay? So we gave one out to Midwest Tool Review. James has the 1/2-inch. Gave the 3/8 out to Princess Jamie. I gave the cordless ratchet to my boss who moved back east to use for his intermediate, DIY kind of use out there because now he's and more into real estate, and he's not really doing car repairs as much, but he still has some car stuff that he does. But anyways, I just kind of moved away from that, started stepping into the Snap-on stuff and to the DeWalt, and so far so good with the DeWalt, right? But time tells all. We'll continue to see how things play out with DeWalt. But I've had pretty good experience so far in the short period of time that I've been utilizing these DeWalt things. In fact, I think some of the testing methods that we most recently did really kind of shows you the power of these tools and how well they work out, even them being the smaller atomic ones that I use for work. Sawzall, I would use that for work. Angle grinder, I could use that here at the house or for work, okay? Because these are all automotive tools that I own in this construction platform, right? Because people don't think DeWalt would be a good platform for automotive, but yet I'm being told a lot by like Chad and a few other people out there on YouTube. CP the Tool Addict, sorry, I go by first name now with him. But at any rate, that Mac Tools sells DeWalt or makes DeWalt or whatever. It's like their Blue Point, right? So if they're selling it, there's probably a good reason behind that, and I think that has a lot to do with the way it was engineered. But getting off that, a tool that I thought worked out really, really well in the beginning, that I gave really, really good first impressions to, but it kind of slowly but surely turned into a DIY tool really for me, was the icon sockets. Okay, there's nothing wrong with the fitment. The fitment is still great. The only issue that I did have was some chrome peeling, which I had made mention to Power Stroke Jude when he was over here with Matt the Surfer Dude, or Little Power Stroke. That's the only issue that I really ran into these, and I was like, man, for that chrome peeling, you get down to a certain amount, you could get that chrome stuck in your finger. It doesn't feel good, right? For here at the house, for how often I would use them, they're still going to work out great for me. I think we ran these out for about 6 months, or a little over 6 months, before I moved them back here to the house, and then we made the gear wrench the primary go-to set. Now, I got these for free, okay? But I gave my honest opinion, my first impressions, and my honest opinion, and now you're also hearing it, that, some things became DIY. Now, some of the other icon tools that did work out well for me was those screwdrivers. Those worked out well for me. The pick and all kit that I had picked up from them, those have worked out well for me. The reversible ratchet wrenches have worked out well for me. I have not had any gearing issues. Their ratchets have worked out well for me from a professional standpoint as well as a DIY. And in fact, I did give some to my lube techs. Ones I got for free, I gave to them for free so they can utilize them. See, so it's all kind of being reshared. I'm redistributing the things that I got for free, but I never sacrificed my own personal opinion or integrity behind it. Okay, if it worked out well, it worked out well. If it didn't, it didn't. Chemo was a prime example. That tool lineup, the first tool seemed like it was going to be pretty good. The second tool ended up being a flop. We sent those out, I think, to Ed, the old tech guy, to try out or something like that. I don't think he cared for them either. Another first impression video that I did was with this jump pack, and this is the most recent thing that we had gotten for free from the Harbor Freight. And the first impression was great. Okay, I was able to trail rate this thing. That thing, I was like, oh, it's awesome, dude. I was using it on the daily at work to maintain battery charge while I was doing flash updates on Chrysler software. And then at a full charge, I was able to take this thing on the trail and deflate or air down and air back up all 4 tires back up to the manufacturer specification. So for that, it worked out really, really great trip 1. Well, 1 month later, okay, just a few days leading up to the end of the week, going into the weekend when I was going on trail ride number 2 with the SoCal Jeeps Club, this thing, I had it at 100%, but I used it a little bit on Friday, brought the battery voltage down from 12 volts down to 11 volts. Didn't think much of it. Was like, I got at least 75, maybe 80% charge in this thing. We're going to be good to go. And we are not good to go, okay? Look, I power this thing up. You can see now, we should be in tire mode. On the back, it's got the inflator. Set it to 38. You can kind of hear the fan whine a little bit, but it's not doing anything. So I have to recharge this up to 100% and see if that built-in air compressor unit for this jump pack / tire filler still works. Because I haven't used the tire inflator since last Jeep meet. there is a possibility that that might have been all she wrote, folks. You know what I mean? But I'm going to charge this back up, and I'm going to see if that tire inflator only works at 100%, because it's got my curiosity. These are things that are not discussed in the owner's manual, okay? These are things they suggest to have it charged up 100% every time you go to jump start a car. You don't need to do that, okay? But they suggest it. They suggest having it at 100% in order to use the tire inflator. It's a suggestion. Doesn't mean that it has to be at 100%. So what percentage does it really have to be at in order for either one of these functions to work? That's what we want to know. That's what we want to know. So again, time-tested reviews versus initial impressions. Initial impression worked out great. Second time around, not so great. So we're going to recharge it, and we'll come back to that. Something else I wanted to discuss about, I just got these lights for free from this RGB LED Rocks, okay? They've been hitting me up, want to know if I can take a picture, do the video, installation guide, all that stuff. So we're going to do that. I have to shoot for a non-windy day. Up here, I can't control the weather in the desert, but once I get these things set up, I'll do a video on how easy or difficult it was to install them, and how easy or difficult the app is to use, and if I'd recommend them, and then I'll put the link below if you're interested. But remember, that's going to be a first initial impression and what they look like once I get it all set up. Once I go on the next trail ride or the next Jeep meet, I'll toss them on and toss them off in the wee hours of the evening if we're doing any evening stuff, and just see how cool they look or whatever, or if they still work, or even if they stayed on the vehicle. Because right now, I see that we got some 3M sticky tape on here, and sometimes the 3M sticky tape from some of these made in China products don't hold up very well, okay? And it comes undone, especially with dirt and dust. So they might look cool initially, but after going off-roading again and collecting up dirt and dust, did they stay attached to the Jeep? That's going to be the next thing, see? So time, test, and review. So you got to have to give me a minute on that. Getting back to something else that I wanted to talk about briefly. So right now I'm actually shooting this all off my cell phone. Now I got this Canon camera. It's an XA11, okay? And I've been utilizing this thing maybe close to a year. This thing cost me like $2,000, not to mention the amount of money that I've invested in all this dang audio equipment that I just never can seem to get right. I'm breaking stuff. But I can never seem to really get the audio down right, okay, with the garage and everything. My cell phone seems to shoot the best audio for in here in the garage. But there's a little tiny burn spot on the lens. Now this is a non-replaceable lens, okay, it's not interchangeable. I'm not saying, I shouldn't say it's non-replaceable, because clearly there's a couple of screws down here on the bottom of the body, and I'm pretty sure if I undid these screws and twisted it off, I could probably get a replacement for it. Okay, but it just goes to show you that, like, look, my cell phone, I'm already committed to the monthly payment for my cell phone as it is, and it works out sometimes better for me here in a garage setting than this over-glorified, expensive camera, you know. So you guys seem to not mind the video quality content that I have with my cell phone, so, you know, I'm not going to argue with what works, and what works is my cell phone. But $2,000, right? This thing's got a battery on it. I got to keep it charged. If I'm going to do a long video, I have to have it constantly plugged in. The DeWalt tool lineup or whatever, I started kind of going through and trying to calculate all that up. So between all the tools that I had acquired, and some of the hand tools, the saw blades, some of the spade bits and things like that, plus the little radio, the fan, the batteries, and the fast charger, plus the vacuum, I'm probably sitting somewhere relatively close to about $2,000, okay? So there's, for the one video that I did, even though I did a couple of individual videos, but for the one DeWalt video that I did, that's $4,000, okay? Total in spent, if you consider the cost of the camera plus these cordless tools. That video has not even come close to paying either one of those things off for quite some time. That's a fact, okay? The video itself didn't even do all that well, and that video took me a very long time to do. In fact, a lot of the DeWalt review videos that I did, that I put up, took me a lot longer to do than our just beer and bullshit sessions, right? So for those ones that don't do very well, I'm doing those more for you so that way you can get an idea of some of the different testing methods that I've seen that work out well to show the overall performance of the tool, and to actually break it down a little bit further on my thoughts and opinions of how it performed for me while using it and why I would buy it or need it for work. Now, some of those things don't always pan out, okay? One of the first tools that I bought on Amazon to include this camera was that little tiny 3-inch cutoff wheel by Milwaukee. That thing was a garbage. It was hot garbage, okay? It was a piece of junk. Probably one of the worst Milwaukee tools that I ever had, because right out of the box with a full charge battery, it just sucked. So we cut it in half. In fact, I actually purposely bought a hatchet for the video just so I could cut it in half. But that was an Amazon special. Things that I would avoid buying on Amazon are this. Avoid buying electronics, and I know that's hard to do. I've gotten very few things electronic-wise that have actually panned out. Some people are probably going to disagree with me and tell me otherwise. Guys, I'm telling you, there's been a handful of electronic items that I've purchased from Amazon and they just have not panned out. There's been a few things that I purchased cordless tool-wise or received cordless tool-wise from Amazon that did not pan out. In fact, some of the scan tools that we also received on this channel from a while back that were from Amazon did not pan out. I would be curious to know how many of these different things that you guys have purchased on Amazon that did not pan out, because I'm adjusting the way that I do my Amazon affiliate page or my Amazon affiliate list. When I put things in the description, I'm usually just trying to put in hand tools for the most part in there. And I've kind of like stopped putting electronics and cordless stuff on there. If I remember correctly, I don't think I've actually posted anything with an Amazon link for quite some time. This upcoming product that the company requested to have the link put in the description, I'm doing it because they had requested it as part of the deal, okay? But the deal that I took was this. If you send me these lights and they turn out to be crap, the video stays up. I want you to know that ahead of time. If they work out great, yes, I will put your little link down in the description. I will give it a solid review of my initial impressions and everything. And then when I take it off-roading, again, same treatment. If all the dirt and dust makes it to where them little lights pop off on the trail, it's going to get a poor review rating from me. I'm letting you guys know ahead of time because you can change your mind now. If these terms and conditions that I have aren't met, then I do not want to do your review. And they said that they agreed with that, so cool. I don't know how many other YouTubers out there do that, but for me, I do it that way because I don't want any more junk. I don't. Like if it's going to work out and I think it's worthwhile that somebody might be able to enjoy that doesn't cost an arm and a leg, I'm willing to check it out, but I'm checking out fewer and fewer things. More things that I've been checking out more recently are things that I've actually purchased. And I've done that because I feel like some of the stuff from the big box stores, like I said, cordless tools and electronics alike, work out better from the actual store than Amazon. That's my opinion. I don't really have any issues with hand tools from Amazon. I buy hand tools from Amazon all the time, and they work out just fine. But for some of the other things, these are the areas that I would steer away from. But these are my thoughts and opinions on, can YouTubers give a solid opinion or review, an honest review at that? I believe so, but I also believe it depends on the person too. I do know some YouTubers that if the thing doesn't work out, they won't post it. I think they should post it. I'm not going to name names. If they want to talk about it, they can. But there are some YouTubers out there that if it doesn't work out, then they just don't post it. Some will post a video, unbox it, or do a brief, tutorial on it and say it's great and give it 2 thumbs up and then ship it and send it. And then never do a time-tested review on it. I would like to see some more time-tested stuff from content creators that have had these products now that they reviewed from last year or a couple years ago. I'd like to see them come back and revisit this and let us know how it's worked out thus far. You know what I mean? Obviously, there are some things that we get rid of over time because we just we lose an interest of it, or we sell it to move ourselves into a different product line. Like I couldn't tell you how Ridge is doing anymore. I don't own them. You know what I mean? I'm still getting questions to this day about the Yukon box and how it's been holding up. I don't have it anymore. So some people are coming over to the channel for the first time and they haven't kept up with all of the other content that I've provided. So it's really hard to break it down for them. So I just answer them shortly in the question. Hey, look, I don't own it anymore. I sold it. I went a different direction. You know, that's all you can do sometimes. But for those that actually still have them, I'd be curious to know what your thoughts and opinions are. That's all I got for this video, guys. Look, I hope you enjoy your work week. We'll see you guys next time. Cheers and deuces.